Welcome back, everyone, to Frame It English, the podcast where we help you learn English clearly, confidently, and naturally through real conversations, real examples, and real-life English. I'm Alice, and today we're diving into a topic that seems simple but is absolutely essential. Days of the week made easy. You might think the days of the week are basic vocabulary, but trust me, the way native speakers use them in real communication can be confusing if you're not familiar with the patterns, and today we're going to make them incredibly easy for you. Before we begin, I want to remind you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode. Your support allows us to create long, high-quality lessons like this one. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to follow and leave a rating. It helps a lot more than you think.
Hello everyone, I'm Michael, and yes, today's topic is one of the most important building blocks of English communication. You use the days of the week all the time, when scheduling appointments, planning your week, talking about routines, describing what you did yesterday, or preparing for something next week. But here's the interesting part, English speakers don't just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They use expressions like this Monday, next Tuesday, last Friday, on Thursday morning, over the weekend, and many more.
Exactly, and sometimes these expressions can be confusing for learners. For example, when someone says next Monday, do they mean the upcoming Monday or the Monday after that? Even native speakers sometimes misunderstand each other. That's why today we're going to break the days of the week down into clear, simple, easy-to-understand patterns, using lots of conversations and real-life examples.
We're also going to explore how people use days of the week in different contexts, at work, at school, at home, during travel, in emails, in meetings, and in everyday life. And to make everything stick, we'll include stories, natural dialogues, pronunciation practice, and listening exercises just like in our previous episodes.
Before we jump into part 2, let me ask a warm-up question. Michael, what day is your favorite day of the week?
Oh, definitely Friday. There's just something about reaching the end of the work week and knowing the weekend is just around the corner. It feels like a mini celebration.
I think a lot of our listeners feel the same. And that's the perfect starting point because days of the week aren't just words. They each carry a feeling, a rhythm, and a meaning. So with that, let's get started. Let's begin with the basics, saying the days of the week naturally. Even though English learners memorize the days early on, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the real difficulty comes when using them in sentences. Native speakers rarely say just the day. They combine it with time expressions like last, this next, every, or on.
Right. For example, instead of just saying Monday, I would say, on Monday, I have a meeting, or this Monday, I'm traveling, or next Monday, we're starting the new project. These little words completely change the meaning, and they help listeners understand exactly when something is happening.
And pronunciation matters too. For example, Wednesday is not pronounced like it looks. It's not Wednesday, it's Wednesday. And Thursday often blends into Thursday. These small details make your speech sound more natural.
Let's give a short natural example to show how days sound in conversation.
Are you busy on Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday afternoon I have a meeting.
What about Wednesday?
Wednesday works for me.
Simple, clear, natural. And you'll hear this kind of exchange every day in English-speaking workplaces. Now that we've warmed up with the basic sound and rhythm of the days of the week, it's time to step into one of the most confusing areas for English learners, how native speakers use last, this, and next with days. These three small words can completely change the meaning of a sentence, and if you misunderstand them, you might show up on the wrong day, miss a meeting, or confuse someone during planning. So today, we're going to make them completely clear.
Yes, and honestly, even native speakers sometimes misunderstand each other when these words are used without context. So if English learners struggle with them, that's perfectly normal. But once you hear enough real examples, everything becomes much easier.
Let's start with last. When we say last Monday, we're talking about the Monday before this week. For example, if today is Thursday, last Monday means the Monday that has already passed. It does not mean 2 weeks ago. It means the previous one.
Exactly. And this Monday usually refers to the Monday of the current week. But if today is Monday, English speakers will say today instead of this Monday.
Right. And next Monday is the Monday coming up after the current week. But here's where confusion happens. People sometimes use next Monday to mean the very next Monday on the calendar, while others use it to mean the Monday after this upcoming Monday. That's why context matters. If there's any uncertainty, native speakers will clarify automatically.
Let's show listeners what this sounds like in real conversation. This will make the meaning much clearer. Alice, when is the team meeting? Is it this Friday or next Friday?
It's this Friday, the one coming up in 2 days.
Okay, got it. And the workshop?
That's next Friday, the one after this week.
Perfect. Thanks for the clarification.
That kind of clarification happens all the time. Notice how natural it was when Michael asked this Friday or next Friday. I didn't answer with complicated grammar. I answered using simple, clear references. The one coming up in 2 days and the one after this week.
Exactly. When there's room for confusion, English speakers clarify by giving the date or by describing the timing. And this happens daily in offices, on the phone, and when making plans with friends.
Let's explore last, this, and next with a full mini story so listeners can hear these expressions naturally. Last Monday, I had a long meeting that took up most of the morning. This Tuesday, I finished some important documents. And next Wednesday, I have a presentation with the entire team. Last Thursday, I worked from home, but this Thursday, I'll be at the office because we have a training session. And next Friday, I'm traveling to another city for a workshop.
Did you hear the rhythm? Last Monday, this Tuesday, next Wednesday, last Thursday, this Thursday, next Friday. Each one describes a different point in time, and this pattern is exactly what you'll hear in real workplaces.
Let's act out one more natural conversation to reinforce the idea. Michael, are you free this Wednesday?
Yes, this Wednesday works for me. What about next Wednesday?
I'm not sure yet. I think I'm traveling next Wednesday.
All right, then let's schedule the meeting for this Wednesday.
Simple, natural, and clear. Conversations like this happen constantly, especially when people organize meetings, classes, rehearsals, or events.
Let's give listeners a quick speaking challenge to help them internalize the pattern. You don't have to be perfect, just speak out loud. Here we go. Repeat after me. Last Monday, this Monday, next Monday. Now try it with Tuesday, last Tuesday, this Tuesday, next Tuesday, and keep going with the rest of the week later on your own. This small exercise helps your mouth and brain get comfortable with the rhythm.
Before we wrap up part 3, let me share something important. When in doubt, always add the date. For example, instead of saying next Monday, say next Monday, the 17th. This is the clearest, most professional way to communicate dates in English.
Yes, clarity always wins. Native speakers do this all the time, especially in business, medicine, travel, and anything that involves scheduling.
Now that we've made last, this, and next completely clear, it's time to explore one of the most practical uses of the days of the week, talking about your weekly routine. This is something English learners need constantly, whether you're introducing yourself in class, explaining your work schedule, or describing your habits. Native speakers talk about routines almost every day, and they use the days of the week naturally, effortlessly, and with a certain rhythm.
Yes, and routines are a great way to practice fluency because they help you speak in full sentences without needing to think too much. It's like giving your brain a warm-up. When you describe your weekly schedule, even if it's simple, you practice speaking clearly about activities, days, and time expressions. And once you master that, you sound more confident and organized.
Let's begin with a simple idea. When we talk about routines, English speakers often use the structure on plus day. For example, on Monday, I go to the gym, or on Tuesday evenings, I study English, and on the weekend. People say on Saturday, on Sunday, or simply on weekends when talking about general habits.
Exactly. And sometimes we drop the word on in casual speech, especially with the weekend. Someone might say, I work Saturdays, or I travel Sundays, especially in American English. But saying on is always correct, so learners don't need to worry too much.
So let's give our listeners an example of a natural weekly routine. Michael, tell us what your week usually looks like.
Sure. Well, on Mondays, I usually start the week slowly. I answer emails and review the schedule. On Tuesdays, I have a meeting with the design team in the afternoon. On Wednesdays, I teach an online class in the morning. On Thursdays, I usually work on reports. And on Fridays, I spend most of the day finishing anything urgent before the weekend. Then on Saturdays and Sundays, I like to relax, meet friends, and spend time outside.
That's a great example and very realistic. Notice how he said each day clearly. And he used verbs that describe routine activities. I usually start, I have, I teach, I work, I spend. These patterns make your English sound fluent and natural. And just by speaking routines, learners practice grammar without even thinking about it.
Now, let's bring the routine idea into a conversation, because routines sound different when you describe them to someone else. Imagine you and I are coworkers who haven't talked in a while, and we're catching up about our weekly schedules.
Michael, how's your weekly schedule these days? Are your Mondays still busy?
Oh yes, Mondays are always busy. I usually have 2 or 3 meetings in the morning. How about you? What do your Mondays look like?
On Mondays, I usually plan the whole week. I make a schedule, set my goals, and organize my files.
And Tuesdays?
Tuesdays are my teaching days. I have 2 classes, one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
That sounds full. And Wednesdays?
Wednesdays are more relaxed. I work from home most Wednesdays. That's the kind of natural, easy-flowing conversation you will hear in offices, classrooms, or even at social events. Routines help people understand what your week looks like, and they show your personality and lifestyle.
And the beauty is that describing routines gives you the chance to practice each day of the week repeatedly. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, until saying them feels effortless.
Let's also talk about weekend language because many learners mix up weekend, this weekend, and on the weekend. To keep it simple, the weekend refers to Saturday and Sunday as a unit. When speaking generally, you might say, I usually relax on the weekend. When speaking about the upcoming weekend, you say, this weekend, I'm visiting my family. And when referring to the previous one, you say, last weekend, I stayed home.
Let's demonstrate that in a natural way. Alice, what did you do last weekend?
Last weekend, I stayed home and caught up on reading. What about you?
This weekend, I'm traveling to see my parents.
That sounds nice. And next weekend?
Next weekend, I have no plans yet, maybe I'll relax.
And notice how smooth that was. Last weekend, this weekend, next weekend. These 3 expressions are used constantly in daily life.
Before we wrap up part 4, let's give our listeners a mini speaking exercise. Wherever you are, try saying your weekly routine out loud. For example, on Mondays, I go to work early. On Tuesdays, I take a class. On Fridays, I relax. On weekends, I visit family. But say your own routine, make it personal. The more you practice, the more automatic your English becomes.
And now that we have the rhythm of the week, we're ready to move into something even more powerful. How to talk about appointments, schedules, plans, and future arrangements using the days of the week. Now that our listeners feel comfortable using the days of the week for routines, let's take things to the next level, using the days of the week to talk about appointments, plans, and future arrangements. This is where English becomes truly practical, because in real life, most of the time you mention a day of the week. It's connected to something you're planning to do.
Yes, and this is especially important in professional environments. People use days of the week constantly when scheduling calls, meetings, classes, interviews, deliveries, and deadlines. And the key is to be very clear, because when plans involve multiple people, confusion can easily happen.
Exactly. And one of the most common patterns in English is combining the day of the week with a time. For example, on Monday at 10, on Thursday morning, on Friday afternoon, or even more detailed, on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. But instead of listing examples, let's let you hear this pattern naturally through conversation.
Let's do that. Imagine you and I are coworkers planning next week's meetings. This is exactly how English sounds in an office. Alice, when should we schedule the project kickoff meeting? Is Monday too soon?
Monday might be a little tight. How about Tuesday morning?
Tuesday morning works. What time?
Let's say 10 a.m. on Tuesday.
Perfect. And when should we meet with the design team?
The design team is only free on Wednesday afternoon.
Great. Then let's meet them on Wednesday at around 3.
Sounds good. And don't forget we have the finance meeting on Thursday.
Right, Thursday at p.m.
And Friday, Friday's always busy. Maybe we should avoid scheduling anything heavy on Friday. That's exactly how people use the days of the week for planning. They attach times, specify mornings or afternoons, and use natural connectors like around, maybe, works, let's, and how about.
And did you notice something else? We naturally repeat the day when confirming. I said, Tuesday morning works, and then, perfect, Tuesday at 10. Repetition helps avoid mistakes, and professionals repeat constantly when scheduling.
Let's introduce another realistic situation, making appointments outside of work, like scheduling a doctor's visit or booking a haircut. These moments also rely heavily on the days of the week. Hi, I'd like to make an appointment for a haircut.
Sure, what day works best for you?
Do you have anything available on Thursday?
Thursday afternoon is full, but we have an opening Thursday morning at 10.
That works. Thursday at 10, please.
Great, you're booked for Thursday at a.m. This kind of exchange repeats the day of the week 3 or 4 times. That's normal. And learners shouldn't feel shy about repeating it too. The more you say it, the clearer the appointment becomes.
Now let's move into future arrangements. Things like trips, interviews, family plans, or events. English speakers often use the present continuous tense for these plans. Like, I'm meeting someone on Friday, or I'm traveling next Tuesday, because it sounds natural and certain.
Right. Let's show how it sounds. Alice, are you free this weekend?
Not really. I'm traveling on Saturday morning.
Oh, where are you going?
I'm visiting my sister. And on Sunday, we're going to a concert.
That sounds fun. What about next Monday? Are you back by then?
Yes, I'm arriving Sunday night. So next Monday, I'll be back in the office. See how smooth that is? I'm traveling on Saturday. I'm visiting on Sunday. I'm arriving Sunday night. This is the rhythm of natural English when describing future arrangements with days.
And because this episode is about making the days of the week easy, let's also look at how native speakers use the phrase, over the weekend. It's a very common expression that means during the weekend in general, not a specific time.
Exactly. Here's a very natural example. I'll finish it over the weekend. Or, let's plan it over the weekend. It simply means Saturday or Sunday, no specific moment.
Before we close this part, let's give listeners a speaking activity. Wherever you are, take a moment and describe your plans for next week. Try to use each day at least once. For example, on Monday, I'm working. On Tuesday, I'm meeting a friend. On Thursday, I'm studying. On Saturday, I'm relaxing. But say your own schedule. Make it real. Speaking aloud makes the language stick.
You can even pause the episode, talk through your whole week, and come back when you're done. This kind of practice helps your brain lock in the rhythm of the days of the week. At this point, our listeners understand the days of the week in simple sentences, in routines, in schedules, and in future plans. But now it's time to bring everything together in a long, realistic scenario. The kind of conversation you hear in real offices, real meetings, and real planning sessions. Because when people talk about days of the week in real life, they don't say one sentence and stop. They discuss, negotiate, check calendars, compare schedules, and make decisions. And this is exactly what English learners need to hear to build true fluency.
Absolutely. A lot of learners know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but when they hear native speakers talk quickly, okay, so Monday's full, Tuesday morning works, Wednesday after lunch is better, but Thursday afternoon is impossible. Suddenly everything becomes confusing. So today, we're going to give them a full, detailed conversation that includes every day of the week, different time expressions, and natural clarification.
Perfect. Let's imagine we're coworkers planning a very busy week. We have meetings, deadlines, rehearsals, interviews, and even a team activity. And just like a real office, things change unexpectedly, so we'll need to adjust our plans. Listeners, pay attention to how we repeat the days naturally, how we backtrack when needed, and how we confirm details for clarity. Michael, we need to finalize the schedule for next week. It's going to be busy.
Yes, definitely. Let's start with Monday. What do we have on Monday?
Monday morning, we have the strategy meeting at 9 a.m. and at 2 p.m. we're reviewing the training materials.
Right, so Monday is packed. What about Tuesday?
Tuesday morning is free for now, but on Tuesday afternoon, we have that interview with the new candidate. It's scheduled for 3 p.m.
Okay, Tuesday afternoon at 3. What's happening on Wednesday?
Wednesday is interesting. We have 2 meetings, one at 10 a.m. and another at 1 p.m. And remember, the CEO asked us to prepare a report by the end of Wednesday.
Oh, right. So Wednesday evening might be a work late day.
Probably. Now, Thursday is the busiest day. At 9 a.m., we have that presentation rehearsal. At 11:30, we meet with the marketing team. And at 4 p.m., we have a follow-up with the IT department.
That's a lot. Thursday sounds intense. And what about Friday?
Friday morning is free for now, but Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. we have the final presentation.
Right. The big meeting at 3. That means we should keep Friday morning open for preparation.
This is exactly how real weekly planning sounds, full of days, times, corrections, and details. But just like real life, changes often appear at the last minute. Let's add that part.
Alice, I just received an email. The IT department needs to move Thursday's PM meeting.
Oh no, to when?
They're asking if we're available on Tuesday morning instead.
Tuesday morning? Let me check. Tuesday morning was free, right?
Yes, Tuesday morning is open.
All right, move the IT meeting to Tuesday morning. That actually makes Thursday a little easier.
Good. And there's one more change. The Wednesday PM meeting is now at 1:30.
Wednesday at 1:30. That still works. But it means our afternoon will be shorter before working on the report.
True, but manageable.
Now let's introduce one more realistic twist. Something every office experiences. Someone asking about next Tuesday, this Thursday, or last Friday, and we need to clarify.
By the way, the marketing team asked if we can send the draft document next Monday.
Next Monday? Do they mean the Monday coming up or the Monday after?
They said, next Monday, the 17th. So they mean the 17th.
Ah, perfect. Adding the date makes everything clear. This is incredibly common. Because next Monday can mean different things. Native speakers usually add the date when something is important.
Right. And this entire scenario shows the natural rhythm of how days of the week appear in real planning. Lots of repetition, lots of checking, lots of rephrasing.
Before we leave this part, let's give our listeners a chance to practice. Think of your next week. Say the days out loud and attach one idea to each day. For example, Monday, I'm studying. Tuesday, I'm working. Thursday, I have a meeting. Friday, I'm free. But give your own schedule, even if it's imaginary. Speaking through your week helps you build fluency.
And when you speak the days out loud, try to use this, next, last, and on. These small words create a natural flow in English communication.
Now that we've explored routines, appointments, schedules, and real-life planning, it's time for one of the most powerful sections of the episode, listening practice. This is where your ears get trained to understand the days of the week in natural speech. Because in real English, people don't slow down when they say Monday or Thursday. They say these words quickly, casually, and often in the middle of longer sentences. So today, we'll help you build the listening skills you need to keep up with real conversations.
Yes, and the best way to do that is through storytelling. Storytelling helps learners understand time sequences, routines, and detailed schedules which all use the days of the week naturally. I'll tell a full story filled with days, events, and small details. Don't try to memorize every word. Just listen carefully, follow the flow, and pay attention to the days of the week as they appear.
After the story, I'll ask you questions to check what you understood. And remember, this is practice, not a test. Even if you miss something, you're still improving just by listening.
Last Monday, I woke up early because I thought I had a meeting at AM, but when I checked my calendar, I realized the meeting had been moved to Tuesday, so Monday became much more relaxed. I spent most of the morning organizing my files, and in the afternoon, I went for a long walk. On Tuesday, I started the day with the AM meeting. It lasted longer than expected, almost until noon. After lunch, around PM, I prepared some documents that needed to be sent by Wednesday. When Wednesday arrived, everything changed. At around AM, my manager called to tell me that the Wednesday afternoon meeting was canceled and moved to Friday instead. That gave me extra time, so I spent Wednesday afternoon finishing the documents. On Thursday, things got a little stressful. I had 2 back-to-back meetings, one at AM and one at PM, and in the evening, around 7, I had dinner with a friend I hadn't seen in months. Finally, Friday arrived. The meeting that was moved from Wednesday took place at PM. It went well, but by the end of the day, I was exhausted. When the clock hit PM, I closed my laptop and officially started my weekend. Over the weekend, I didn't work at all. On Saturday, I spent time with family, and on Sunday, I relaxed, watched a movie, and prepared for the new week ahead.
That was a great story, full of natural day references. Now let's check how much you understood. I'll ask a few questions, and you can answer out loud or quietly to yourself. Just try. First question: what happened on Monday? Monday turned out to be relaxed because the meeting was moved to Tuesday. Second question: when did Michael have the long meeting? He had it on Tuesday morning. Third question: what happened to Wednesday's afternoon meeting? It was canceled and moved to Friday. Fourth question: which day had 2 meetings? Thursday, one at 11 a.m. and one at 1 p.m. Fifth question: what did Michael do over the weekend? He spent Saturday with family and relaxed on Sunday.
If you understood most of that, you're doing fantastic. But even if you missed a few details, remember, listening practice takes time. Every time you hear English like this, your brain improves.
Now it's your turn. I'll tell a shorter story, and afterward, Michael will ask you the questions. Try to listen without stopping. Focus on the days. Monday was a study day for Julia. She spent most of the morning reading. On Tuesday, she had 2 online classes, one at 10 a.m. and one at 3 p.m. On Wednesday, she went to the library after lunch. Thursday was her favorite day because she met friends for coffee in the afternoon. On Friday, she took a test in the morning and relaxed in the evening. Over the weekend, she worked on a project that was due the following week.
All right, listeners, here come your questions. First, which day did Julia go to the library? Next, which day did she take a test? And finally, what did she do over the weekend?
If you are able to answer those, you're improving your listening significantly. And even if you struggled, this type of practice prepares your ears for faster, more natural English.
Before we wrap up this part, let's do a short speaking activity. Think about your own week. Describe it out loud using the days of the week, what you did, what you plan to do, or what happened recently. Even 1 sentence per day helps.
For example, on Monday, I worked. On Wednesday, I studied. On Saturday, I relaxed. But create your own version. Use your own details. Speaking is what makes the knowledge stick. We've reached the final part of today's episode, and if you're still with us, truly, congratulations. You've just completed a full, detailed journey through one of the most important and most practical areas of everyday English, the days of the week. This topic might look simple on the surface, but as you've heard throughout this 8-part episode, the way English speakers use days in real conversations is rich, nuanced, and full of natural expressions.
Yes, and today, you haven't just memorized the days. You've learned how to use them the way native speakers actually do. You've practiced days in routines, in appointments, in schedules, in real-life planning, in stories, in listening exercises, and even in stressful situations when plans suddenly change. This kind of deep, natural exposure is what builds fluency.
Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to review everything we covered. First, we learned to pronounce the days clearly and naturally: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. We learned the rhythm, the casual sound, the way they flow in sentences. Then we explored how to use last, this, and next, something that confuses many learners. But now you understand how native speakers use them, how they clarify meaning, and how to avoid misunderstandings.
After that, we looked at talking about routines, something people do every day. On Monday, I work. On Wednesday, I study. On weekends, I relax. Routines help make the days of the week feel natural and automatic. We then expanded into appointments, plans, and future arrangements, showing how to combine days with times. On Tuesday at 10, on Friday afternoon, this Thursday evening, and many more.
Then we moved into our extended real-life scenario, one of my favorite parts, where you heard how real English sounds when people plan a busy week. That scenario had everything: meetings, changes, clarifications, and fast-paced checking. It showed you the real rhythm of English scheduling. And finally, you practiced listening through stories that included the days in natural context, helping you train your ears to understand English even when it's fast or filled with details.
That's a lot of value packed into one episode. And if you've made it here, you've made real progress. You've heard the days of the week in so many forms that your brain now recognizes them faster and more comfortably. That's how fluency works, not from memorizing, but from exposure and repetition in context.
Now let's do one last speaking practice together. Wherever you are, if it's safe, say your answers out loud. Here we go. First, what day is today? Say the full sentence. Today is. Second, what did you do last Monday or last Tuesday? Use the structure. Last Monday, I. Third, what are you doing this Friday or this Saturday? Say, this Friday, I'm. And finally, what are your plans for next week? Try to include at least 2 days.
The speaking activity helps lock in everything you've learned. The more you say these expressions aloud, the more natural they become. Don't worry about sounding perfect. Fluency grows through practice, not perfection.
Before we end, we want to take a moment to thank you truly for choosing to learn with us today. Creating long, high-quality lessons like this is our passion, and knowing that you're listening, practicing, and improving makes all the difference. And if you want more content like this, we need your help.
Yes, please subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode. It takes just a moment, but it helps this channel grow tremendously. And in the comments, we want you to write something very simple. Write one sentence using a day of the week. It could be, on Monday, I work, or this Saturday, I'm traveling. Anything. This is your chance to practice and connect with other learners.
And remember, you are improving, you are getting better. Every minute you spend learning brings you closer to fluency. English is not about talent, it's about consistency. If you practice a little every day, you will reach your goals.
We believe in you, and we're here to support your journey. Thank you again for spending your time with us. This has been Frima English, helping you learn English clearly, confidently, and naturally.
Take care, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.